Welcome back. This is Podcast Bozo, where a few knuckleheads, which is us, learn new things each week with you, our listeners. Today we are talking about, in the second part of this episode, so if you haven't heard the first part, go back. But in the second part, we're continuing our conversation in Mind Over Matter. The main players that got me interested in this subject, and how we believe normal people should perceive this idea if you can't be a David Goggins or whatever it is, or mental toughness, that kind of thing, and much more. Today, on Season 3, Episode 9, I'm here with Eli, our resident artist, Cheek, our resident beer server, or our certified beer server, I should say, and I'm JJ. You can call me Dusty Two-Foot, as per the last episode. Before we put the pedal to the metal, we want to encourage you to contribute to the conversation, communicate with us over the social medias or our website. And Cheek's not here to tell you, so you can find us at podcastbozo.com, PODCASTBOZO. That was pretty quick of me. Speaking of our website, go there, donate. We'll read whatever you write in the donation message. I never say that right. Or write you a little backstory. Not sure what that means? Donate to find out. Please. That money all goes back into production and distribution of the podcast. So thank you. And here resumes part 2 of a 2-part series on Mind Over Matter. Merci beaucoup, arrivederci, and continue on with the podcast. Thank you. Bye. So the next thing I wanted to touch on is emotional theory and the balance between hardo and healthy side of this argument. It's kind of my midway point. The healthy side is going to be a lot shorter, so stay tuned. But normally I would do this kind of thing at the end. It's like a resolution, but I just wanted to kind of tie them together with this. And something that really surprised me when I was doing my research is that there's a very commonly understood perception of your emotions that aren't taught in school, and I really feel like they should be. But it's your core and inhibitory sides to your emotions. The core side is your like base emotions, the reactionary emotions, the instinctual emotions, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Fear, anger, disgust, joy, excitement, and sexual excitement. Cheek, you know all about that one. Those are all hardwired in our bodies via evolution. They're necessary. They're there for a reason. And then there's the inhibitory emotions, which are anxiety, shame, guilt. Those are all learned socially. They get in the way of feeling your normal emotions. And so when you kind of view your emotions in those two ways, and I know that this might seem out of context of what we were talking about before, but I want to rope this kind of into understanding yourself and not just saying something I'm doing is wrong because I don't have enough to do it. Like I'm sad because I'm not tough enough, or I'm not doing well because I didn't do enough, that sort of thing. I want to kind of fringe away from that and find a balance at this point. So understanding that core and inhibitory, am I saying that word as far as you can read it? Yeah. I want to get that out of the way. And and a lot of people claim, I mean, these core and inhibitory theory is pretty solid. It's pretty understood that these are two sides of your emotions. And a lot of people say when you get largely rid of your inhibitory thinking, like the things that you say, oh, maybe someone won't like this, or one of the examples I read is like 4-year-old Jimmy loses his toy and cries, and the dad says, you piece of shit, you shouldn't be crying, man up, that kind of thing. Then that's what that kind of ingrains in little 4-year-old Jimmy's head, that maybe 30 years down the road, instead of this is a slippery slope, but it is an example of how people deal with their emotions. But 40 years down the road, little Jimmy Slimtown is gonna be like, I don't want to deal with these sad emotions. I want to, like, how do I cope with it? And it's drugs, alcohol, or just pushing it down, causing more stress, giving you that garlic knot in the back of your head. So I wanted to talk about moving forward and keeping that in mind, the healthy sides, the healthy side, as I view it, of kind of the David Goggins, Wim Hof message. And not to say that they're bad, but what I think people should take from it that is applicable to our world. Because a lot of times I read those and I hear those videos of Wim Hof or David Goggins, and I get super pumped up, and I do the AJ method where like I get super pumped up. I wanna do something, and then it's like, where do I go from there? And I think there's this disconnect where like, yeah, you're pumped up, you're motivated, but you still don't have the tools to deal with your environment the way that David Goggins developed his tools. And so maybe it's better to give you the tools rather than the blueprints in this case, so that you can kind of deal with it on your own. And the first way I want to approach dealing with this is visualization. When I wrote this word down, the first thing I thought of was vision boards, but that's more in the goal setting area. But so I'm going to move on past that. The mindfulness meditation integrative body. A guy named Mike Posner made this. It's basically mind training, and don't get this confused with Bow Chicka Wow Wow Mike Posner, or Cooler Than Me Mike Posner. This guy's a doctor. Mindfulness meditation integrative body. That's mind training. It's basically mindfulness through meditation. We've actually talked about this in a previous episode. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't know if our listeners remember. Go back for more in-depth talk about this, but this is concrete science. This is not alternative medicine anymore. Mindfulness and meditation is when you sit down. The process is sitting down, focusing on something internal, like your breath, feeling your breath, giving yourself 3 minutes, 5 minutes, however much time you have time just to focus on that inside of you, and then bring that outside of you, focus on the things outside and perceive them without attachment. So it basically works on your focus. It works on your anxiety, less stress, reduce symptoms of like pain, facilitates recovery, depression, improve general health, which includes weight loss and blood pressure. And these aren't guaranteed things. So like, I don't want to sound like a doctor here, but these are, I don't know. I think a lot of people perceive like, oh, let's do the Wim Hof method and it will be a miracle. We do this and just by random factor, I can withstand cold and I can do anything and I have this mindset. But the science behind this is that you are reducing the blood pressure thing, is that you're reducing stress when you learn to focus and let non-physical attachments just pass by you without judgment. Weight loss comes from being able to control your desires and not necessarily eating as much on impulse and being able to focus on your goals. And this kind of all plays into the idea of neuroplasticity, which is the ability to train your brain and have it shift and adapt. And this can be affected by meditation. So I don't know. Do you guys remember that episode where we talked about this stuff initially?
This podcast?
Yeah.
We
that was
talked
version
about
one
that
of
here?
E. Yeah.
I thought this was our first season.
Yeah, that was version 1 of E, but we're
Oh,
on
that was
version 3 now.
version 1 of E.
So obviously he's not going to remember that. But I don't know. We got into depth that if you want to learn more, we did a pretty good episode on that, in my opinion. But
Might have to go listen to that, learn a little bit.
yeah, I must assign that as our homework because I felt like you guys wouldn't remember. I gave you too much faith. But the ability that ability to shift your brain and adapt it via meditation and mindfulness has been studied, and they put people in rooms where you're looking at groups of people with back pain or depression or anxiety, and you're comparing them with other people, and you're watching the improvements that are made through this mindfulness. And that's just that's one way where I can relate basically that mind over matter and visual and a healthy way to have your mind control your matter. And I honestly think that this Wim Hof guy, especially David Goggins in his own way, Wim Hof practices meditation. He just doesn't know it, I think, is what's happening. Because he focuses on his breath. He has those breathing regimens. He has this extreme focus and he trains it every day. The cold helps him isolate it. And I think it's something that he doesn't know, and a lot of people just kind of, there's two sides of it, like where some people follow the Wim Hof method and expect his results, but they don't really know what's going on underneath. And then there's people who are like, oh, I want to meditate, and they like go in expecting these changes, and you can't really go in with either of those aspects. As far as I understand, because I'm not an avid meditator, but you have to kind of go in with an open mind and just kind of focus on the inside of things, you know, the internal breath, the internal body mind training.
I've been using meditation quite regularly in my life.
Have you? How regularly?
As a tool to fall asleep. Whenever I'm having trouble falling asleep, I have a way too expensive nightlight, and I can program it to have the same bedtime routine every night, where it'll leave a light on for 30 minutes for me to read, and then it'll like turn down the brightness, and it'll dive into a put your mind at ease meditation to try and, when my mind is racing around a track too much before bedtime, to try and just focus on the breathing as to calm the mind, as to be able to fall asleep much easier.
Smart, Cheek.
It
What you
works
said about
like
your
magic.
What you said about your mind running around like a racetrack. I don't meditate regularly, but I know when to meditate, and that's always when I feel my mind running around like crazy, like I'm doing too much. I always realize that in a moment, and what I do is like I just lay down and take a nap, and then I wake up feeling totally recharged, and it's like cleaning a slate pretty much.
Yeah, I get that. Well, sleeping can just kind of shut your mind down, and you kind of forget what your worries were before.
Turn it off, turn it back on again.
A lot of things that people think as resting, like laying on the couch and watching TV or scrolling through your phone, things that people do on their breaks are actually just as stimulating, if not more, than work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing about that burnout that you're talking about, or that I was talking about, where you can kind of understand when you're getting tired of what you're looking at, stressed out, and you just taking a break, going and meditating, going and, I don't know, just doing something else, going on a walk, can really increase your productivity throughout the day. Even though you might be like, oh, I can't take a break, I don't have the time, but you're going to be more productive if you take that time for yourself. A lot of people don't give that time to themselves. And, yeah, I think that's kind of neglected in the Wim Hof, David Goggins message.
I find that fascinating, and maybe we should do that for another topic sometime. But like how fucked up the United States' productivity structure is like created, our work structure, where like there is just like physical evidence from studies that show people can get more done and be far more productive if they have a 3-day weekend and then work for 4 days instead of 5 days in a row, and then only have a 2-day weekend, and then or you know, a longer work day for those days that they are at work. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, siestas,
4-hour
work days.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, we just don't understand it. It's like, we're such a nose to the grindstone society where it's like, we're Americans. We work harder than everyone else. We just totally neglect like mental health and how mental health can affect physical health. And I think, like I said, these motivational speakers and this mind over mentality concept has its place. Like mind over matter is what I meant to say. Has its place. I do think that you can't just like get sad and run away from your emotions, but like having sadness is not something to be embarrassed about, is kind of the point. And having fear or excitement or sexual excitement is not something to be sad about, but it's something to know how to control.
Hey, Cheek, I want you to bring us into sexual excitement. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, how do you feel that on a daily basis?
So,
Or is it hourly?
it first started when I was 11 years old one day, and I was watching TV, and all of a sudden I felt my pants get a little tighter. And that was the first experience I had.
Watching David Goggins?
I was watching Hulk Hogan and Dwayne The Rock Johnson wrestle each other in the ring.
In Cheek's mind, it was more mind over boner. Oh. But yeah, so we're talking about giving the tools to be a hardo like David Goggins. Speaking of hardos, give the tools of being like David Goggins. One kind of diversion I had quickly is, do you guys believe in synchronicity, aka the study of manifestation?
Yeah, I definitely do. It is complete mumbo jumbo when you first hear it, and I was totally skeptical, but it's weirdly it's one of those like we live in a simulation things.
Yeah.
Is it just like manifest what you want to become your reality or something?
Yeah.
Like just repeat it over and over again and it will eventually be true.
Yeah, that's kind of how surface level vision boards work. There's like an actual more practical side to it, but like it's there's this whole idea of like, yeah, like you make a joke enough or you say something enough where it just will pop into your life naturally or not so naturally, depending on how you view this whole situation. But what do you think?
I think it's all real. Let's make it happen.
All right, Cheek. Start visualizing this podcast as the biggest podcast in the world.
I'm visualizing me becoming a sheik of discovering an oil field in my backyard here in Vermont, and I'll buy us all the
shooting it up your butt. Hell yeah. Yeah, as a counter theory, I'd like to believe the manifestation thing, but there's a counter theory that says that there are so many people living so many versions of life, and every single one of those persons has so many certain number of things happening to them at all times that there's just a probable chance that whatever you manifest will come into your life. And there's this like confirmation bias where you say one day, I hope a chicken falls in my lap, and it never happens, but you forget about it. The next day you say, I hope I could find, it's like, oh, I'm so poor, and you find $20 on the ground. And you forget about the time where the other thing happened, and only a certain percentage of time does the manifestation happen. And so that's kind of like the counter theory. But I will say there are studies where they put people in rooms and they imagine sets of numbers, and then they have a random number generator in front of them, and they run it. And there have been a couple studies that have slightly indicated that just thinking about the set of numbers you had influenced what the random generator came up with.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Mumbo jumbo. The synchronicity I was thinking of is that you basically set a goal, like a dream, like I want to be, like I want to have a yacht, or like I want a full feature animation or something like that. And you think that over and over, and like you manifest it and you want it. And then you just start making baby steps towards that direction. And like one thing might be like, for me, would be like, I want a freelance job to help me pay my rent or something like that. And if you're just focusing on that and you're searching for that, it will pop up. That's what I'm saying. It's like you have a big goal and you dissect it into little goals, and you just look and hope for those little goals. And I see it pop up.
Yeah. That's not the traditional sense of manifestation. Manifestation is like willing something into the universe. What you're talking about is naturally the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is goal setting. and like healthy goal setting, not goal setting like, oh, I want to be like David Goggins because he's successful now. Healthy goal settings like I want to be an animator on a big time, like, I don't know, show or movie, and saying, okay, what are the other people that are at my stage doing? How do I get there? Setting actionable, small, calculable goals that align with your actual, like, in your heart of what you want to do. If your dad is around and he's saying, oh, you have to make something that makes money, you have to be a banker, and you set your goals based on being a banker, like, they're not going to be passionate. You're going to get burnout, and eventually you're going to be some old guy who's like, yeah, I have a lot of money, but I hated what I did every hour of the day. And that might have been more necessary back in the day, but now it's not necessary anymore. You could do something that you love at this point. You can make money doing anything at this point. So yeah, I don't know. I think the moral of that story is like healthy goal setting. Cheek, are you a goal setter?
I think I'm trying to be.
I'd like to be better at it too.
Like, I don't know. A while ago, I made a goal or challenge for myself to not consume alcohol for a specific period of time, and I think that I've continued it, and I've been far more successful than. Like, if you probably like dug into my brain when I made that goal, I probably had the mindset like, yeah, I'll tell myself I'll do that, but I'll probably bail after a week or two. And there was a day where I was really tested, I was very tempted to consume alcohol, but I didn't. I said no, and it's currently been like 33 or 34 or 32 days, something like that I haven't consumed alcohol. So,
do you feel like you've been more productive?
Incredibly, so much more productive.
So are you going to set a new goal for lack of alcohol consumption? I'm
going to set a goal for how I practice using alcohol in the future, because I'm not cutting alcohol out of my life forever. I love alcohol. I'm a certified beer server. I love beer. Let me be very clear. I'd have to
change your name.
Love the booze.
Certified beer hater.
I used to be somebody who could, after a shift, have a couple pints, and then there'd be a 4-pack in the fridge when I get home, and have that 4-pack, and then it's like, oh well, there's a bottle of liquor over there too. I might take a shot or two before bed, feeling nice and cozy, and then next thing I know, I've had like 8 to 10 drinks in one night, and it's a Wednesday, and there was no need for that.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, and the next day you just feel shitty, and you don't only lose the time when you're drunk, but you lose the time the next day too, where you're doing nothing productive.
Yeah, so
I get that. Chica, we appreciate your commitment to non-drinking.
I think everyone should try it. Do a month. I have a specific date in mind where I'm going to consume alcohol again. But I feel really good. Next week, midweek, there's a specific date. Yeah.
The big kahuna.
The big
Chancho de la Mundo.
It's my bar mitzvah of sorts.
Yeah, career bar mitzvah.
I read from the Bible, the holy book,
Quran,
Torah, something like that. I don't know.
Something with letters in it.
Are there aren't letters in that book though? They're just squiggly lines.
All right. Cheek, if you were drinking, you would have at least been able to blame it on that right there.
Yeah, that was just a very insensitive joke. I apologize to all the listeners out there. I apologize.
That does make me think we should learn Sanskrit.
Yeah, that is just writing. I'm into that.
Do it.
Duolingo. Sanskrit.
Teach me Sanskrit.
Yeah.
If there's any of our listeners out there that are familiar, reach out to us. We'd love to learn Sanskrit for you. If
you're an expert in Sanskrit, we'd be willing to learn from you for free. But yeah, does that tie that all together? We started at mind over matter and we ended at goal setting. I mean, that makes sense, but a lot of that chunky stuff in the middle might seem a little uncertain as to how that fit in here.
I want to talk a little bit about our Viking friend. What's his name?
Wim Hof.
Wim Hof.
W.H. Hof.
Wim Hof. You touched on how he, believes that returning to nature is healing, and that he would be barefoot and running around the Arctic and whatnot, and that was his healing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea and specifically how he believes that inflammation is the root cause of a lot of illness in today's society that we treat with medications, but could be, differently treated. And that if we understand what's the root cause of inflammation or how to properly treat inflammation without drugs, that we can take control of our health a lot better. So I saw this video about grounding one day, and I, not a lot of scientific data, but I bought in right away. And it's this theory that everything that we do throughout the day and how we participate in society, we wear shoes and we lay down asphalt and we live in a building that's disconnected from the ground. Everything that we do throughout the day, 95% of the time, we are disconnected from the earth, correct?
Yeah.
True.
The earth has a magnetic charge. It's magnetically charged, correct? Our bodies are also magnetically charged. Or at least contain charges in them of
electrons and protons.
Electrons and protons, correct.
I already have a refusal to this statement.
And the theory is that being disconnected from the earth, we are imbalanced with the proper amount of, say, electrons in our body. And that if we were to more often create a connection with the earth, like grounding, like a grounding wire for electricity, that allows the safe exchange of electrons between two objects to create balance, that is something that can cause inflammation to decrease significantly within your body. So the moral of the story is
everything contains protons and electrons.
Would you say this table is magnetically charged the same way as the Earth?
No, but our bodies are electrons.
Right.
That's my point.
So you're saying like the Earth is a feeding station for our energy, and
I'm saying that there's an amount of energy that's improperly balanced between us and the earth, and that creating the disconnect with rubber shoes and asphalt and living in buildings doesn't allow something to transfer between your body and the earth that is supposed to. Like the way that lightning from the sky, that lightning bolt is an electrical restabilization because there's too many electrons somewhere that's restabilizing the environment, that we ourselves become unstable. I haven't seen the video in a long time, but like, I buy it. Like when you're hungover, go outside and lie on the ground and just rest on the ground. You'll feel great.
It's fresh air.
I don't need to be convinced by data on that one. I'm pretty happy just blindly believing in that, because I think about every time I've been barefoot on the ground, it's just a good feeling.
Yeah, that's true. I can feel that.
So maybe it's not electrons. Maybe I'm using the incorrect terminology. I saw that video and I was like, I buy it. Like, I'll walk around barefoot as much as possible. I'm down. But some people go as far as to like take a copper wire and wrap it around their mattress so that their body can always be, I don't know if it's a copper wire, some sort of facilitator, and then connect that to a stake and punch it in the ground so that their bed, when they're lying in bed, they can properly be
That's full on like electronic grounding, so you can't get like hit by lightning in your bedroom.
And they say I've never
that's-
slept better in my life. Do you
That's
buy it?
verging on That's verging on doomsday prepper. Like on the off chance you get the lightning goes down between your townhouses and zaps you in your window. But yeah, I mean, I just wrote down yesterday a topic to do about like instinct. And I think that even as adults, we have instincts that are like deeply rooted in ourselves. I think feeling natural in nature is one of those things. And so, regardless of how you describe it, just like being outside and going camping, especially just being relaxed without noise around you and concrete and artificial heat reverberating off it or refracting off it, seeing stars, getting a cool breeze that has no pollution in it.
Smelling your friend's farts in the tent.
Yeah, leaving beef jerky into your hammock. All that's part of nature.
This makes me want to go outside and just step on the backyard dirt right now.
Bozo listeners, just know that after this episode, E and I and Cheek all did that. So we challenge you to do that as well. We're gonna go step out. I'm not just gonna step on the grass, so I'm gonna dig. I'm gonna dig myself 6-foot hole. I'm gonna lay in it.
We dug ourselves a little time capsule and buried it to open 10 years. What would we hide in there? You'd have to get a lock of your long hair right now.
Yeah, that would be something that I would not have. Well, I plan on when I'm an older man getting my hair back if I still have any, like regrowing it out.
I legitimately
We're going to be
forget.
old ponytail guys.
Yeah.
I legitimately forget what you look like with short hair.
Me too.
I can't
I'm
remember
excited.
what style you used to wear your hair.
It was like a short on the sides and a little poof on top. That was kind of my common style. I had different lengths of it at all times. I've never really been a same haircut my whole life kind of guy. That's probably contributing to why you can't remember, but I've always changed my haircut up a little bit. I've always liked to grow it out for like 6 months and cut it really short. It's a cost-effective method. There's
You know
some
what
people who have the same exact haircut since like the day they're in 3rd grade. I've never
So
understood.
bland.
I've never understood that. That's such a funny mentality to me.
Do you remember when we were playing high school soccer and on Saturdays we used to have plyometrics day?
Yeah.
And Aaron Moss always used to yell at us, "Your mind's going to quit before your body does. Don't give up."
Yeah. Yes. I love
Mind
bringing this
over
back to the
matters. Immediately what I thought of when we started talking about this topic today.
In this case, I think that a lot of us could have been mentally stronger and done more. But I feel like the point of this episode was yelling that at someone isn't the best way to get everyone in on what you're talking about. You know?
I think that you can present that to somebody, but at the end of the day, the motivation needs to come from within, not somebody telling you to do something.
Right. And there's a more creative way to go about being like the old Johnny don't cry scenario. Like there's another way to go about that where it would capture
The
more
old
people's
scenario where Johnny's crying.
Yeah, 4-year-old Johnny, he's crying, and you say, if you say, Johnny, don't cry, you're being soft or whatever, Johnny's just going to keep crying. And then later he's going to have some kind of emotional fucked upness. The right way to deal with that is be like, what is making you sad? Let's address that. And maybe
true.
Loss is not something that you always have to cry about. Things move on, that kind of thing. Like the Moss example, maybe motivating us from within rather than externally motivating us would have been. I'm not saying Moss did anything wrong. I'm just saying, like, if you want to capture more people, motivate more people than just like the people who are on your same page, the put a Band-Aid on it solution isn't the right solution every time.
I like the phrasing of it of saying that's just a plain statement. Your mind will quit before your body does. How far can you push your mind? Because that's leaving it up to you to like challenge yourself Or at least the way that I interpret it. As opposed to somebody yelling at you, don't quit, you can go longer. You've only done 69 miles, do 69 more, you freaking loser. You know?
Yeah.
I'm feeling very Hulk Hogan today. I don't know why.
You're thinking about your first B-Dog, that's why, Cheek.
Yeah.
It's true.
I think a lot about my first mentor in drawing who got me into like discipline and all that. And he said something similar to what David Goggins was saying, which is that your mind is the enemy and that it always will seek out comfort. And like when you're in stressful situations, a lot of times you think about, gee, I just wish, sounds really good calling it right now and just going back home and laying on the couch
eating
or something like
ice
that.
cream. Oh.
Yeah. And what my teacher basically taught me is that you have to fight your mind and you have to just like smack it and smack it and smack it into place until it just gives up. And it's like, okay, you're going to do this, so I'm going to let you do this. So like you show up to draw every single day, even when you don't want to. And he balanced it with, it wasn't like just do it until your body quits, then do it some more. It's like, he just said, do it every day and then release all that burnout and tension by treating your body well, by journaling every day. So his trick was when you journal every day, you are basically meditating, like you're going through your thoughts, paying attention to yourself. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, even though if you don't want to do that, that is like the medicine for yourself.
Well, the interesting part about that is like the coming back to center theory is what I'm going to name that. But like you're working on your craft really hard, but then you're coming back to yourself and checking on yourself. That's universal. You can't be like, oh, everyone just push yourself, grow in the 160 miles. If you're saying do whatever you do, set a regimen for whatever that is, and then coming back to yourself and like checking in on yourself, whether that's meditation or journaling. I've never journaled before, but a lot of people do, and I'm jealous of it. I like people journal after they dream, people journal after they eat, people journal after they work. Like, yeah, I wish I had I don't have the diligence to do that. So
go buy a fucking journal. Go journal.
This reminds me, there's a third part too. There's that work you're actually putting in, the grind, the restorative process, the journaling. And I think the third one is the reasoning, which is like inspiration, reminding yourself why you're going through all this hard work, why you're challenging yourself, and what's to gain from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that too, because that's where that discipline comes from, to be able to do that in the first place. Like, why do I care about this? And that you don't get burnout if you can remind yourself why you can care about it every day, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. So we're going to get you a journal.
Yeah. Give me a journal. So everyone, let's make a commitment now. Let's start meditating more, start journaling a little more.
I've been wanting to, there are morning meditations on my clock that I want to do.
Well, the way we were talking about meditation before was reactive, like when you're feeling too stressful and when you're feeling tired and you can't go to sleep. That's a reactive method of meditation, but the best use of meditation is proactive, and you're doing it. Some people look, oh, I can't do it 20 minutes a day. We'll do it 5 minutes a day. It's better than not doing it at all.
You don't have the time.
Yeah. Do it 5 minutes a day. Cut out your social media a little bit. Put your social media timer on your phone. But that's like doing it every day. And I'm preaching from the stadium, not from the choir. I'm watching the choir, but doing it every day by research standards is what makes you actually have the positive change that's long lasting. Reactive meditation is one thing, and it is helpful. It's proven to be helpful, but doing it every day is proactive. Talk to someone who meditates every day. They're going to be more focused. They're going to be more empathetic. They're going to understand their body and the reactions to those things that affect them every day more. So yeah, I don't know.
My guy.
Before we end this, just a quick thing. Last week we forgot to do the results of the caption contest, and the task of the contest was make a caption to this stock photo that's funnier than the one we made. And we're pretty funny.
Yeah, so no one got it right.
Yeah, so
You all fucking lost.
So try again next week.
That's it.
Oh, and by the way, I'm the judge.
Yeah, Cheek's the judge. He's the funniest one of us all. I would say with the first one, we had every answer was better than ours. And I liked our answer a lot. With the second one, I didn't like our answer very much. And I don't think anyone beat it. So I'm going to read the answers from the first one. It's a small boy with very curly hair, and he's got his hands out like this. If you're watching, it looks like I'm pissed. Both my hands are out. I'm real pissed. I'm yelling at someone, you know?
It's a little vampire boy photo.
Yeah, you see it?
Yeah.
See it, Cheek?
Oh, is that from? I know that.
It's from our social media. It's a stock photo. But
I knew I recognized that guy from somewhere.
So the caption was a Hunter S. Thompson quote. I'm not even gonna read it because you guys beat it. So Kimberly ERC. Told me about the goddamn golf shoes. That was Kimberly's response. Kimberly took him as a golfer. I see it. He's a young prodigy. His dad's rough on him. He set his goals too high. Within the conversation, he had a David Goggins dad. Maybe you need more low cushioning.
He had a David Goggins dad.
K-Girl 7'3", that happens to be my sister, said, I said no onions.
Oh God, no onions.
Rocking Chair. I'm not gonna even read yours. It wasn't that good.
Boom, roasted.
Now, Nagu Kun, remember he suggested, he or she, I don't even know, suggested our topic last week. Nagu Kun. Negi, we said it last week. Comment whatever the phonetics are. Your comment was one of my faves. The preface was, I got a caption for you. How many times do I need to tell you, Mom, you can't pause an online game? That immediately made me think back to Sean playing video games back in his high school days. Yelling at his mom, telling her that no one's over, even though I'm hiding behind the couch.
Dude, you can't reveal too many personal stories from our childhood.
I have a lot to get off my chest. I'm still pissed about that.
Dude, you bring that up far too often. It's
it's one of my favorite stories.
Karma.
It's one of my favorite
Karma
stories.
for what?
And
like JJ being
for
at
putting
my
me
house?
in one of the situations where I felt the most awkward of all time.
Yeah, and I've never been in an awkward situation with your parents, Jay.
Jay, that's a socially learned inhibitory.
That's true. I have blockers up there that are not allowing me to be my true self.
Thanks, Cheek.
Thanks, Cheek.
You know
I'm
what?
gonna go
It's
play
probably
myself.
if
I
you're
never go
not
over
your
to
true
someone's house
self,
without
Jay,
skulking around before I'm first invited.
I would be terrified to meet the real JJ Greg without those inhibitors.
You think that if I was uninhibited, that I would be a force to be reckoned with? All right, well, I think the way we should sign off, if you guys are ready, is with one thing each of us wants to say that's uninhibited. Starting with E, who's always uninhibited.
Save 25% off fungal toe insurance with Geico.
Oh, these pants are too tight.
All right, thanks all for listening.
Arrivederci.
Derci, Arriva,
Hasta luego.
Square.